do they have national importance, but they are also the first two satellites for our new constellation, which is called OpenConstellation 1.0. Alki, could you tell us a little more about this constellation?
OpenConstellation 1.0 is a new generation of sovereign Earth observation infrastructure, combining advanced imaging capabilities, onboard AI processing, and near real-time data delivery. The constellation will help governments strengthen resilience and security, enable industries to better monitor assets and operations, and provide data foundation for the next generation of AI applications. Soon, we are going to be joining SpaceX for their final checks. After a successful launch, we will then come back to you for the history of the two satellites, how they were made inside our clean rooms, and also we will have a Q&A.
Also, just a reminder that we're also hosting a poll on YouTube with a very tricky and interesting question, and we would like your participation. So, Alkis, what are you looking forward most about this launch?
So, this is a strictly personal question for me, at least, because these are going to be the two first microsats of my life. This is going to be the first project that I actually put my hands in, so I'm looking forward for great picture, amazing quality, amazing resolution, and like being proud of what I made, and it's actually into orbit right now. But what about you, Panos?
It's also the first end-to-end space mission for myself. We have been involved in every stage, along with an amazing team, which increases the anticipation for this launch. What I'm looking forward to is how these images will be used to solve actual challenges in Earth. So I'd like to see how all this hard work will pay off and improve our lives in Earth
hosted payloads,
by using
and orbital
insights
transfer
from
vehicles
space.
carrying 8 spacecraft to be deployed
Really
at a later
nice.
time.
So let's go
All
to
spacecraft
SpaceX
on
for
board
their
today will
pre-launch
separate
checks,
from
and we
Falcon
will be
9's
back
second
to
stage
you
across
after launch.
69 deployment events, scheduled to start around T plus 54 minutes and 30 seconds, and conclude about 2 hours after liftoff. SpaceX has launched more than 1,800 payloads to orbit across the entire rideshare program. And for more information on what's flying today, a full list of payloads is available at spacex.com/launches.
We are currently getting a great shot of Falcon 9's payload fairing there. Inside sits the stack of Transporter-17 rideshare payloads, and at the very top is CAS 500-4, manifested for today's mission by Korea Aerospace Industries. This is not their first mission with SpaceX. In May this year, Falcon 9 launched 45 payloads for Korea Aerospace Industries during the CAS 500-2 mission.
Hi, welcome to Launch Day. I'm Rafael Jordasi, I'm founder of OpenCosmos, and it's a pleasure actually to share today this beautiful day of two launches of two OpenConstellation satellites. One, Posidònia, for the Balearic Islands, and another one, Hyperion, the first one of Hyperion for the Greek government and the European Space Agency. These two satellites are going to be game-changing. One has multiple sensors with the ability actually to look at what's happening in the ground in hyperspectral, multispectral, and near-infrared imagery, together paired with IoT. The other one is going to have extremely high resolution, submetric resolution, in partnership with some of the key cameras from Europe. This is going to enable Greece and the Balearic Islands to have access to game-changing data in order to understand better what happens on Earth and help solve the big challenges that both geographies face. Fires, floods, climate change, it's critical in the Mediterranean area. And we really welcome this pan-European, pan-Mediterranean capability coming up in the OpenConstellation. Enjoy the launch. Looking forward to have those two birds up there.
Both halves of the fairing today are flight proven, with one side flying for its 35th time and the other for its 19th.
And right below the fairing is Falcon 9's second stage, which features a single Merlin vacuum or MVAC engine. And below the second stage is the black carbon fiber interstage, and inside of that is where the MVAC engine is located. And below that, we have the first stage, or the booster, which will be fully loaded with about 1 million pounds of liquid oxygen and RP-1 rocket-grade kerosene. The first stage makes up the bottom 2/3 of the vehicle and has 9 Merlin M1D engines at the bottom, which generate more than 1.7 million pounds of thrust.
The booster supporting today's mission will be making its 11th flight. It previously launched Sentinel-6B, Twilight, NROL-172, and 7 Starlink missions. About 2.5 minutes into flight, the first stage will separate and make its way back to Earth. Today, the booster is headed to the drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, which is currently stationed in the Pacific Ocean. With just about 5 minutes to go, everything is looking on track for launch today.
Now coming up next, the support structure next to the vehicle, known as the strongback or the transporter erector, will begin to retract. And in preparation for retraction, the clamps around the second stage will open, and then the strongback will begin to recline away from the vehicle. And at this point, we're just a few seconds away from starting to see those clamp arms opening around the second stage on our vehicle stack.
Strongback retract.
And those clamps help stabilize the second stage during fueling and prevent movement in high winds. And then once they're open, the rocket will be fully free at the top.
So you can start to see those arms coming open now. It takes about 15 seconds for them to fully open, but once they are out of the way, the strongback will recline away from the vehicle to give it room for liftoff. So in just a moment here, you'll see the strongback start to recline, and you can see it go ahead now. The launch tower strongback is now moving away from Falcon 9, allowing it to stand freely before liftoff. And again, the strongback is designed to transport, raise, and support Falcon 9 at the launch pad. Okay, and there we can see that the strongback has now fully reclined.
At T-minus 3 minutes and 17 seconds, all systems are currently a go for an on-time liftoff. Rideshare missions like today's significantly increase access to space for small satellite operators around the world, and we're excited to be able to offer these launch opportunities for SpaceX customers. In addition to helping drive down the cost of access to space by flying reusable vehicles,
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
and there is confirmation of Stage 1 LOX load complete, so liquid oxygen loading for the first stage has finished, finalizing propellant loading for the booster. So in addition to helping drive down the cost of access to space by flying reusable vehicles, dedicated rideshare flights provide small satellite operators competitive pricing, increased flight opportunities, and flexibility.
There are all types of spacecraft on these missions, everything from payloads for the US government, to constellation deployments, to technology demonstrators, to re-entry vehicles. We have also seen several countries launch their first spacecraft ever on board transporter missions, many student efforts, and even a father-daughter CubeSat project.
For more information on SpaceX's rideshare program, visit spacex.com/rideshare. And at this point, we're waiting for the Stage 2 LOX load complete callout.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
So there we heard confirmation of Stage 2 LOX load complete. So liquid oxygen for the second stage is now fully loaded, completing prop load for the upper stage.
Ground gas closeouts.
So we just heard the call out that gas closeouts has started, and that refers to venting and closing out gaseous systems, such as topping off tanks and sealing vents to maintain pressure. We're standing by now for confirmation that Falcon 9 is in startup at the T-minus 1 minute mark.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
So at this point, the autonomous flight computers have taken over the countdown, and stages 1 and 2 are pressurizing for launch.
LD is go for launch.
And with that, all systems are go for launch of Transporter-17.
Thirty seconds. $15 seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignite. Engines full power. And liftoff of Transporter-17. Go SpaceX, go Falcon. Vehicle is pitching downrange.
We are now 30 seconds into flight, and Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Space Launch Complex 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base. Falcon 9 is currently throttling down to prepare for max Q, which is the point of maximum aerodynamic stresses on the vehicle. Max Q is reached when the air density of the atmosphere decreases faster than the increasing speed of
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
And at this point, we are waiting for the call out for max Q.
Max Q.
And sounds like we just reached max Q, which again is when the vehicle experiences the greatest amount of aerodynamic stress. Merlin engines are back at full power and we're out of the throttle bucket. From here on, even though velocity is rapidly increasing, the atmospheric density is decreasing, resulting in less loads overall on Falcon 9.
I'm back chill.
There are several events coming up in quick succession, starting with MECO, stage separation, and second engine start, or SES-1. Main engine cutoff, or MECO, is where all 9 Merlin 1D engines shut down to slow the vehicle down in preparation for stage separation, and this is where the first stage separates from the second stage. Next, the MVAC engine on the second stage will light, which is called out as second engine start 1, or SES-1. This engine burn, lasting several minutes, will propel the second stage and our payloads to orbit. After that, the fairing will jettison from the second stage as it's no longer needed to protect the payloads once we're in space. We should be hearing the first of these callouts in just a few seconds from now.
MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
I'm back startup.
And there you heard and saw those 3 events that happened back to back, including main engine cutoff, stage separation, and second engine start 1.
Coming up next will be fairing separation in a few moments from now.
Both vehicles are following nominal trajectories.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And there we just heard confirmation of fairing separation, along with a great view of those halves separating from the vehicle on your screen. And as a reminder, those fairings are going to make their way back to Earth for recovery. Now, the next major milestone coming up is entry burn on the Falcon 9 first stage, which is scheduled to occur at the T+6 minute mark. The entry burn is used to slow the first stage down as it heads back towards our drone ship. Of course, I Still Love You.
Falcon 9 is currently in its first MVAC burn, which should last for another few minutes. The next milestone will be the first stage entry burn, coming up here in just about 2 minutes. Today, Falcon 9 is performing 2 total burns in order to land. The first burn, known as the entry burn, slows the vehicle down before hitting the denser parts of Earth's atmosphere. Without this burn, Falcon 9 would only be using the atmospheric drag to slow down, which would add extra stress to the vehicle. Following entry burn, the booster will initiate a landing burn to slow the vehicle down even further for a successful landing.
When Falcon 9 fires up for re-entry, the vehicle will be flying through Merlin's exhaust gases, which is also known as the rocket's plume, which deposits a layer of soot on the vehicle surface. And you'll see these marks across the flight-proven Falcon 9 first stage fleet. And that soot comes from the carbon-based fuel that Falcon 9 uses. And with each flight, the soot builds up a little bit more on the outside of the vehicle. And the first stage today, supporting today's mission, will be making its 11th flight. So you can see earlier some of that soot build up on the outside. And it had previously launched Sentinel-6B, Twilight, NROL-172, and 7 Starlink missions.
Falcon 9 is now about a minute away from the start of the entry burn on the first stage. You can check out the telemetry on the bottom of your screen and see that the second stage is still picking up speed and heading to its destined orbit. We have a great view here of that MVAC engine. Falcon 9 is also equipped with 4 hypersonic titanium grid fins positioned near the top of the first stage that help steer it as it returns to Earth. You might also spot those white puffs from time to time coming off of the booster, which is cold nitrogen gas helping with attitude control.
Now at this point, we are moments away from the beginning of the entry burn, and you should see the graphics light up when the engines do on the bottom of your screen.
Stage 1, entry burn startup.
Stage 1 FTS is safe.
And there's the call out for the entry burn startup on the Falcon 9 first stage. Now this burn is set to last about 24 seconds and again is slowing the vehicle down in preparation for its final burn and landing.
Stage 1, entry burn shutdown.
And that concludes our entry burn.
As mentioned earlier, we will be attempting to recover this booster. Today, the booster is targeting a landing on the drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You. You can follow along with the burn in the engine graphic at the bottom of your screen. As this burn happens, you'll notice a decrease in both speed and altitude. And during the landing burn, we are expecting a shutdown of the second stage MVAC engine. This is known as Second Engine Cutoff 1 or SECO 1. We have both events coming up here in just about a minute.
Now we are about 40 seconds away from the beginning of the landing burn, and this is the final burn of the Falcon 9 first stage. And it's used to reduce the remaining speed of the vehicle for a gentle and precise
Stage 1 transonic.
For a gentle and precise landing on our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You. The first stage is also equipped with 4 landing legs made of carbon fiber with aluminum honeycomb.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
And as Falcon 9 descends towards the drone ship, keep an eye out for the first stage landing legs, which will deploy just prior to touchdown.
Stage 2 FTS is safe.
Stage 1 landing burn.
And there we heard the call out for the landing burn start for the Falcon 9 first stage. Again, this is the final burn that this booster will execute before touching down.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And as we
Nominal orbit insertion.
As we saw and heard, a successful first stage landing.
And over on the second stage, confirmation of a successful cutoff of the MVAC engine, and we also heard the call out for good orbit. Coming up next is the second burn of the MVAC engine on board the second stage, or SES-2, which is around the T+51 minute mark. In the meantime, we're going to take a break and return to live mission coverage at about T+50 minutes. See you soon.
Sometimes solving Earth's biggest problems means looking at them from a whole new angle. Collaborative. Revealing. Turning data into decisions. Always observing. Sorting the good from the bad. Protecting resources. Using connectivity to overcome obstacles. Resolving peacekeeping. Making space life-changing. Bringing space down to Earth. Look at it this way. When you're looking at a whole world of problems, change your perspective to see a whole world of solutions. Open Cosmos, solving Earth's challenges from space.
We are into space. Launch is a success, and our 2 satellites are making their way into orbit. It's a really proud and great moment to see the hard work of a great amount of people paying off. We have also seen the landing of the booster, and to make things more interesting, it was its 11th flight. This booster will fly again in another mission, and this is what makes space so accessible. After our satellites reach their destination, they won't be above a single spot 24/7. In order to achieve that, we had to reach a geostationary orbit at approximately 36,000 kilometers. And then to achieve a similar resolution such as Hyperion GR-1, we would need a telescope with a diameter of 30 meters. Just to give you some perspective, the Hubble Space Telescope is 2.4 meters. So, how do we solve this problem? Our satellites will operate from an altitude of 510 kilometers in a sun-synchronous orbit. This means that the mission is designed in a way so that the satellites will pass from the points of interest when the sun is illuminating this space. And this is so that the photo is looking much better. And this is the way we can be much more efficient. Of course, on the rest of the orbit of the satellite, we can still exploit it and also use it to task it to another area. So in this way, we get the maximum out of this mission. But Alki, can you tell us how the satellites will reach this orbit?
Of course. At the moment, the second stage is actually carrying our satellites in orbit. We saw already the fairing separation, as the atmosphere is a lot thinner on that altitude that we are right now. It's around 150 kilometers, more or less. And the satellites don't need some extra protection from the fairing at this point. Now, actually, when the second stage is bring us into our altitude, we are not going to deploy like the old CubeSats in the past. The CubeSats had a deployer, and then they had a spring, and the spring was actually pushing out the CubeSat from the deployer. Now we are using a little bit more sophisticated thing. It's a separation ring, which is actually comprised by 2 parts. Those parts have a locking mechanism in between them. They are holding the satellite on the rocket for the time being, and once they are given the correct signal, actually the mechanism is going to unlock, and some small springs are going to push the satellite into separation. So once we are in the altitude, we will witness that thing, and the satellites are going to be free in order to start their operational life. Now, okay, I understand. We brought them into the 510 kilometers. And to quote our corporate film, actually, we are building satellites for a reason, and the reason is to understand and connect the world. But, Pano, can you give me some more insight how these satellites are going to achieve that?
Sure. So these satellites each have their own mission. Posidonia will help the Balearic Islands understand the effects of climate change from environmental sustainability to managing impact activities like tourism. On the other hand, Hyperion GR-1 will help Greece across everything from fault load monitoring and wildfire response up to agriculture, maritime surveillance, and infrastructure monitoring. But Alkis, how these satellites can be impactful?
So, why it's so special to have images from space? And what these satellites can provide, actually, is that from space, you have a completely different viewpoint. So, and not only that, but you can have this exact photo, and you can compare it because you can take it over and over and over again. And you can compare the differences. From that thing, you can like spot a wildfire, or you can monitor a flooding or natural disaster in general, or you can see how the soil is eroding, actually. And if you add on that you're not only watching on the visible spectrum, but actually our satellites uses multispectral cameras and have multispectral data in general, then you can understand that you can have data from the soil that you would never have, like being here and monitoring Earth, like how much is the moisture on the soil, what is the temperature of the sea level, how can we see what is the rate of the melting of the ice, and a lot of other things. So those images turn into data, multispectral and the data from multiple bands, and they can be delivered upon 30 minutes when we ask them, and this way they can be really impactful.
Exactly. This is what makes this product so much powerful. It's that we have a complete system, not just one input. So we can combine both data from multispectral high-resolution imagers as well as hyperspectral imagers. With the multispectral product, we can scan wide areas, and we can do a monitoring and set something like an alarm. So, for example, we can set a filter about changing how the moisture is on a field, or also we can set a filter and trigger an alarm when we find a wildfire. Then we can task the hyperspectral imager in order to get more detailed analysis from this alarm, so we can see how we can counter it and how we can solve this challenge. The hyperspectral imager can give us much more details, both on different layers of the Earth, and then this data will be passed on to the actual customer or the authority who will solve this issue. And also, we want to connect this with our future constellation, which is the connected cosmos, where we will also have an IoT sensor in each satellite, and then we can trigger alarms even much faster. So, as you also saw in the corporate video, we can, for example, have an IoT sensor in a forest, and this sensor, as soon as it detects increased CO2 emissions or an increase in temperature, it can transmit the data directly to a satellite. This satellite is equipped with an inter-satellite optical link, which is a way to connect with other satellites without needing to pass over an antenna on the ground. So, in this way, we are going into real-time monitoring and actioning of this data, and we don't have to wait until a satellite passes over an antenna, so we download it to ground. Also, by using this data, we can trigger some specific actions, and we can ask a satellite to go directly and take a photo over this region.
So it's really amazing, right? It's observe, it's communication, it's connecting, and it's all-in-one system. Now, we were both really involved into the making of these satellites, these two satellites that we are waiting for their commissioning. And as we can see from the video, the satellites were being born in like a clean room in Greece, in Portugal, in Barcelona. I would like to go a little bit more deep into that process. Would you like to start from that? Because I know, let's say that for Greece, you were maybe the first person that started working in the company. And you're the one that actually made the clean room a reality in Greece. Can you walk us through, and then I will take you through the AIT activities of a satellite?
Sure. So one common question is why we need to have a clean room in space in order to create a satellite. So our microsatellites are packed with incredibly sensitive electronics sensors, as well as high-powered cameras. Because of this, our biggest enemy during manufacturing isn't a mechanical failure. It's just a single speck of dust. How we solve this problem? We control the environment where they are being manufactured. So we build them in an ultra-sterile clean room for three simple reasons. First of all, the human dust problem. Humans constantly shed hairs, skin cells, and microscopic oils. If a single speck of a dust is going into a circuit board or a lens, it could either short-circuit or affect its performance, and we want to avoid that. Then it's also the launch vibration. Riding through a rocket into space, it's extremely shaky, as you have also seen during the launch. So what we want to do is to avoid having anything, let's say, loose inside the satellite. So even a small metal speck in this speed could turn into a microscopic bullet, and it could affect or damage equipment. And this would endanger our mission. So our goal is to have as much a controlled environment as possible. And the last reason is that, at least so far, we can send no repairmen in space. So the satellite needs to leave Earth spotless. We want to prevent future issues, and this is why we control the environment at this level. A clean room isn't just a very well vacuumed space. It's also, it has sensitive equipment, and the air is being filtered dozens of times within the hour. And this is to catch particles 300 times smaller than a human hair. And those full body suits you see our engineers wearing, they are not to protect us from the satellite. It's just to control the way we are creating dust and keep it inside the suit. But Alkis, talking about the clean room, which a fun fact, it's that the clean room in Greece took from design to commissioning in under 4 months. Can you tell us how it is to work inside the clean room and building a satellite?
For me, it was a dream come true, but it has difficulties too, don't get me wrong. So let's say dehydration is something that we are facing for sure while we work there, but that is why we are taking really regular breaks in order to hydrate. But apart from that, being in the middle of high-tech technology, having satellites being built around you, and not one, but multiple, and trying to test them, find minor obstacles, troubleshoot the obstacles, and go on like that, it's amazing. The activities start by testing thoroughly each subsystem. So you take the first subsystem, each of them, it might be a radio, it might be just a battery, and you have to test it in order to be sure that it's going to work. And afterwards, while you have assembled all these subsystems, you're starting integrating them into the soon-to-be a satellite. And this way, you are starting and creating a platform. All of this together, working and try to see how and simulate actually how this is going to be operating in space and testing it in parallel, doing thermal cycling, doing burning tests in order to verify that nothing is going to be wrong. It's every day is a different challenge, and every day it's a different fulfillment when you achieve your goals. And in the end, the most important thing is while you integrate the payloads. So when you finally have your cameras, when you finally have a fully operational platform, and you're putting the payloads on the platform, and you start being able to see the first photos that these cameras are providing. Okay, this is mainly for optical testing, but still it is an emotional moment for us, I can tell you for sure. And then, once you have a fully integrated satellite, you need to go and test it in those challenging environments that it's going to be operating. So you need to go to do the vibe test, you need to go to do the TVAC test, and after all these tests, you still and go again and test every functionality that this satellite is going to host. And once you have tested everything, once you are confident enough that this thing is going to be out there and it's going to be operating for years, and you see, like we saw today, a satellite being launched, I mean, it's probably one of the most emotional things that you can have in this industry. And having said that, Pano, can you tell me a little bit, how many years are these satellites going to be operating in space? And in the end, are they going to stay there? What are we going to do with them?
This is a very interesting question and a very fun one. So we have designed these satellites to actively work for 5 years. Our satellite will operate at an altitude of approximately 510 kilometers. At this height, if a satellite turned off completely, then, and we did nothing, then the residual atmosphere, which is the extremely thin trace of air that reaches into outer space, would create a tiny amount of drag. So eventually the satellite would come back to Earth, but depending on the exact attitude and also space weather, this could take anywhere from 5 to over 15 years for a turned-off satellite to reach back to Earth. Because we want to be responsible space citizens and keep space clean, we don't wait for nature to do all the work for us. We plan to bring them down our own as soon as their mission is over. Since our satellites use electric propulsion, think of it more like a highly efficient, highly tech ion engine rather than traditionally fiery rocket booster like the one we witnessed during the launch. Then we have a very precise way of steering them home. Here is how we can do it in 3 simple steps. First of all, we need to reduce the speed. So we turn around the satellite using the attitude determination control system, and then we fire the engines in order to slow it down. Then, as soon as the velocity is being reduced, the orbit is starting to be lowering, so it's coming closer to Earth. And the final and most spectacular step, it's the big burn-up. So once the satellite is low enough, then the thicker part of the Earth atmosphere is doing all the work for us. So the satellite will be burned and nothing will be left. You ask, why didn't it burn now? Now it didn't burn because you saw that it was protected by the rocket. So the fairing protected the satellite, but when it's coming back, it will have not the rocket to support it. So in this way, we can say we have a zero emission footprint on space. And you need to think Earth's orbit like a very busy highway. So we don't want our broken down cars sitting in the middle and just not let the rest of the satellites do their work. We want to ensure that we leave a clean space for the next generations. But Alkis, we have talked a lot about the images and how they will help us in the Earth. But how can we ask a satellite to take a photo over a specific region, since it will be very high in space and it will travel very fast?
This is a really complex answer, what you ask and what you seek right now, because actually it involves a lot of different subsystems in order to make that happen. At first, you need to have a way to communicate with the satellite. And this communication needs to be reliable because you need to get to it, and you need to get to it regardless of where this satellite is facing right now, and give it one by one these commands that you need to give it in order to perform that activity. And let's break that down into simple steps. For starters, you need to understand how this satellite is oriented at the moment in space. So is it facing Earth? Is the camera facing Earth? Is the camera facing deep space? To which antenna am I speaking to? And all these small parts. Once you understand that, and in order to understand that, you need to use a variety of sensors that we employ on our satellite. So this is part of the subsystem that you mentioned before. It's called the ADCS, Attitude Determination and Control Subsystem. And the sensors are like star cameras that are looking to deep space, are finding constellations of stars in deep space, and using libraries and using a specific configuration about the angle that they are mounted on the platform, you can understand and know more or less where you are and how you are pointing. There are sun sensors, like imagine them like small cameras that are trying to find sun, and they are taking photos of the sun, and by that they understand more or less the orientation of the satellite. There are horizon sensors, sensors that are looking towards Earth, and they see the horizon of Earth, flat Earth theorist, I'm sorry, and from that they understand more or less again the pointing. Keep in mind that we all know where these sensors are on the platform. Now, once you understand where you are and how you are pointed, you need to precisely set and point the camera towards the place that you want to take the photo of. And why precisely? As we said previously, we are at 500 kilometers. Being at 500 kilometers and actually trying to take a photo of a specific place in the Earth, then even half a degree of different pointing, it can lead to kilometers away of the photo that you want to take. So after we have calibrated thoroughly all these sensors, and we know exactly where we are pointing when we are about to take the image. And how are we pointing the satellite? And how are we pointing with such accuracy? So here, we are going from sensors to something really critical, that are the actuators that this satellite has. And it's part of the ADCS suite, actually, again. So main actuators that are being used in space are magnet torquers, which you can imagine them like big coils that when they are powered, when current is running through them, actually they're creating a magnetic field which interacts with the magnetic field of Earth, and this can employ torques on the platform and rotate it. We have different magnet torquers on each axis, and this way we can actually control it over all the axes. Now, this is good, but this cannot be so precise, and that's important. So there is another really, really genius subsystem that it takes advantage of momentum and inertia. And actually, by using rotating wheels, and we call them actually reaction wheels, but imagine some wheels rotating, and you're rotating at will, and you have really good precision of how many RPMs these wheels are going to be rotated. You know really well where they are. You know really how they are mounted exactly in the satellite. And by just increasing or decreasing the rotations, you can precisely turn the satellite and point it wherever you want. Once you have done it, then you have to take the photo. So you have to communicate with the camera, and after you communicated with it, you need to take the photo, and then you're creating a lot of data. And I mean, we are talking about gigabytes of data. So this data needs to be stored at first somewhere, being processed, and here is where AI goes again. And after it's being processed, then you need to download it to Earth. And in order to download it to Earth, you need not the previous communication method that we discussed, that it needs to be reliable, and maybe you're not really sure where you're going to find the satellite, but you need something really precise. Why? Because if you're really precise, then you can download a lot more data. And this is the other way of downloading the data in order to have them in ground and be able to use them. And imagine all this cycle that we discussed right now can be done, as we said already, in less than 30 minutes.
Oh, that's very interesting. And one of the ways we are navigating is looking at the stars. So this makes the satellite a real explorer. Also, as you mentioned about the 30 minutes time frame, this is very important that we can achieve and even less reduce this time with connected cosmos. So we are planning to launch a third layer of satellites at a higher altitude, which would each carry the inter-satellite link, and you will not need to go through terrestrial networks. So you don't need an antenna to pass over. You don't need cables. You don't need anything. You just need your terminal, and then the satellites are doing the rest of the work. The satellites will be connected, so no matter where you are, you can just send the data. This data will be relayed from satellite to satellite and then downloaded directly to the user. And on the same way, the user can push data into the network. So this is something we are really excited about in the very near future. in order to have a complete product and be able to solve even faster the challenges. But also what you mentioned is really important, and you can see the complexity of a space mission. So you need to see that we don't have any way to fix the satellite once in orbit. So one of the de-risking activities we are doing, and one of the tests we are running before launching the satellite, we already talked about the control environment, but how do we actually test it? So we do what we call fun, vibe, bake, and brain testing, which is a super fun part of the job. Especially the first step, which is the vibration. We want to test the satellite with similar loads that it will experience through the launch in the booster in the rocket. We have these loads, so we know what to look for. But just to be super safe, we also vibe the satellite in some random modes, just to be sure that it can also withstand these. And this is a very fun time to see all the work you have done in a satellite being bolted on a shaker, which is a table, and then look at it go through all directions. And
fun? For me, it's scary, eh?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, this is where your heart races a little faster. But yeah, it's one of the fun parts of the job. After this is over, then we take it into a huge thermal vacuum chamber where we pump out all the air to create a vacuum. And then we go through the extreme temperatures it will experience in space. Because, you know, as the orbit is getting completed, the satellite will either face directly the sun or be directly on the Earth's shadow. So it can reach on our orbits, for example, from plus 60 to minus 25 degrees. And this happens many times throughout the day. So we need to ensure everything goes as planned. Through both tests, we are doing health checks to make sure our subsystems are healthy and they are working as expected. And also functional tests, which is we test how each subsystem is communicating with each other, just to be sure it will perform spotless on space. And as we talk about all these activities, the company is growing. We have a lot of projects, and also there are many open positions. So you can visit OpenCosmos/careers, so you can see all the open positions. Also, we can see a video from our recruitment division, so you can see how you can also participate and help in building those satellites, which is an amazing and very rewarding journey.
This started a little bit like a dream, something that seemed very hard to achieve. Over 200 people from literally all over the world, all of them working towards the same purpose, understanding and connecting the world. That's a pretty astonishing thing. It's a massive achievement. To see our satellites delivering those solutions to the people that need it, to understand better climate, to understand better natural resources and how to use them in a sustainable way. It's a quite unique thing that I feel really proud of.
The vision of the company has been probably, I would say, our biggest strength. Like, it's been always a guiding light. And through that, we've been following bit by bit this path. And it's not an easy path. Champions, around the world that have helped us to get here across institutions, customers, like many, many different people.
The 10th anniversary is a very exciting point in time. I believe it's a point to kind of take stock of everything that we have built, the services that we are providing, the problems that we are solving for our customers and society in general. I think it's also a point to look at the amazing team that we have built, not only here in the UK, but across Europe and Latin America. In my mind, we have spent the last 10 years of our life building this machine, this vehicle to achieve purpose in our lives, but it's just the beginning.
Everything depends on the perspective from which you look, and the future changes when you change your perspective. Ours, from space, allows us to imagine the future from a new vision. We don't just work to send satellites into orbit. We work so that every technology paves the way for a more sustainable, safer, fairer future. We are pioneering spirit. Unlimited, collaborative, human. Our privileged perspective shows us not only how the world is, but how it can become.
What we want to achieve is much bigger than what we have achieved until today. So I just only see it as a small part of the journey of the company.
A quick reminder that our poll is closing soon. We can provide the answer after the deployment of the satellites. We have one final question about the mission patches.
Wait. Let's remind you a little bit the question of the poll, because I think that we never mentioned it live.
That's
here.
true.
So the question is, what's the quickest that we have been able to deliver from start to finish, from start to launch a satellite? Answers, if I'm not mistaken, are, because I don't have them in front of me, are 4.5 months, 12 months, 2.5 months, and 8 months. And believe me, it was challenging. And we're looking forward for your answers. We will reveal the correct answer after the deployment of the satellites. So, Pano, can you please explain me about the mission patches? Because we discussed about the missions, we discussed about the satellite, we discussed about the company, but we have said nothing over the patches. And you know, it's like a really important thing for us.
That's true. So for each mission, we designed a different patch, which is very valuable, not only remind you all this amazing journey we have been through. We have already some guidelines, and in order to standardize the mission patches, Alkis, could you give us some technical details about the patches?
So a patch should be an 8 centimeter in diameter, and this is already so limiting. As Panos said, in a patch, you want actually to depict, to include the whole meaning of the satellite and all the effort that is given to the satellite and is going to be given to the satellite while it's in orbit. So everything that it's put there is intentional. Every color, every line, every small detail on the side needs to mean something, because already you have so limited space in order to depict all these things that a mission is actually. In-house, we have a formula actually for our patches, and we have words to the border, satellites highlighted, and vibrant color. This is our way, and it is done like that in order for each mission to stand out and we stay cohesive. But Pano, can you give me, let's go one by one to the patches. Can you give me a little bit more insight about the Posidònia patch?
Sure. So for the Posidònia patch, our in-house graphic designer, Mariana, created this badge entirely from scratch, translating the mission objective to a stunning result. But before we go to the patch, I think it's very interesting to know the story about the name. So we wanted the Balearic community to be involved in this historic milestone. So there was a competition between the schools about the naming of the mission. We received over 100 proposals, which is amazing. And then through a public vote, the name of Posidònia was the one that won. This was an amazing process because the students were able to provide, to get very creative and provide names that would translate all these very detailed and very complex details of this mission. And also, it was a very good opportunity that introduced students to space technology and STEM. The name that came from Posidònia oceanica, which is the Balearic seagrass, which is the largest living organism in Earth, over 100,000 years old, and gives those islands their turquoise water. This mission is tasked with monitoring this natural phenomenon and also the effects through climate change in order for the community to be able to prevent any changes that could not change over the future. If you look at the mission paths, it remains very vibrant, and also you can see on the colors and the curves on the algae how this phenomenon is depicted. But still, it remains according to the guidelines of the company, and it's vibrant, it has saturated colors, and also the satellites are highlighted, which for this specific mission is the high-resolution satellite. And you can distinguish this by looking at its 5 cameras on the side. But Alkis, can you also give us an insight on the Hyperion GR-1 patch?
Of course. So Hyperion carries a special history. As you said, similarly to Balearic Islands, we ran a competition across Greek schools, inviting all the next generation of scientists and artists to submit their vision for the mission. This was done both for the name and for the patch itself. The winning concept came from a student that I really want to mention her name. It's Katerina Ragusi, who captured the satellite role in smart agriculture by playfully depicting like the satellite watering the plants, and in order to help them grow. This idea is something that I think Mariana, our graphic designer, took, and it was crazy. It was such a nice thing, and she was able to imagine a concept and refine it in order to make it professional and have a really nice and playful space emblem, space patch.
I think a lovely takeaway from this mission patch story is that there are no bad ideas. So students were especially brilliant at simplifying very complex concepts, which is one of the hardest parts of this mission.
Definitely. Collecting mission patches is one of the joys in general, and having these patches for me at my collection at least is I feel really happy about it, and I was waiting. And thanks to all the students, and thanks of course to Mariana for providing these patches for us.
Well, I think we are starting to get close to the deployment time. So we will very soon close our poll. Alki, can you tell us what the answer is?
Do you want to tell that now or keep it for after the deployment of the satellites?
I was thinking that one anticipation for the deployment was enough, but yeah, let's keep them engaged.
Yeah, let's keep that. It's like a cliffhanger. Come on. Okay. I think I want to just remind you that the deployments of the satellites are at least in 8 minutes, it's the first one, and in 10 minutes is the second one. So I think that we will connect now to the SpaceX stream in order to wait for the deployment, and we will be here after to give you a goodbye and success, celebrate.
Welcome back to our live coverage of the Transporter-17 mission. It's been a great launch and overall mission so far. First, we had an on-time liftoff at 12:12 a.m. Pacific time, and the first stage landed on the drone ship Of Course I Still Love You for its 11th launch and landing. And we had a successful first burn of the MVAC engine on our second stage.
Following that, Stage 2 entered about a 40-minute coast phase. We're expecting the second ignition of our Merlin vacuum, or MVAC engine, here shortly, followed by our first batch of payload deployments. If you're just joining, today's flight is part of SpaceX's rideshare program. Rideshare missions launch multiple small satellites into orbit using a single Falcon 9 rocket. Transporter flights are intended to make access to space more affordable for small satellite operators all around the world. To learn more about SpaceX's rideshare program, visit spacex.com/rideshare or email the team at rideshare@spacex.com. We are currently waiting for the second engine burn of our second stage.
Nominal orbit insertion.
And there was confirmation of good orbit. So everything is on track to start the first wave of deployments in about 3 minutes. And we're expecting the first deployment to occur at around T plus 54 minutes and 30 seconds.
There are 81 payloads total on today's flight, including CubeSats, microsats, hosted payloads, and orbital transfer vehicles, which are carrying 8 of those payloads to be deployed at a later time. There will be a total of 69 separate deployment events today, and we're expecting to see all deployments back-to-back without much of a pause, except for one final deployment, which will occur after the initial wave. We should hear callouts as each of these payloads are deployed, but because the spacecraft on this mission are small sats, it can sometimes be difficult for us to confirm deployments in real time. This first wave of deployments will begin at about 54 minutes and 30 seconds and is expected to conclude at about an hour, 12 minutes, and 30 seconds. For more information on what's flying today, a full list of payloads is available at spacex.com/launches.
And while we don't have live views right now, we are expecting to have live views for most of these deployments today. And we're expecting the first deployment sequence to begin in just under 2 minutes. In case you're just joining us, today's flight is part of SpaceX's rideshare program. And rideshare missions like today's significantly increase access to space for small satellite operators around the world. And we're excited to be able to offer these launch opportunities for our customers. And in addition to helping drive down the cost of access to space by flying reusable vehicles, dedicated rideshare flights provide small satellite operators competitive pricing, increased flight opportunities, and flexibility. And the first deployment sequence is expected in under a minute. Gorgeous view of the Earth beneath our payload stack, and we should expect that deployment sequence in the next 10 seconds.
OSIRIS-A, separation confirmed. Lemur 2, Eleanor, separation confirmed. Suchai 4, separation confirmed.
Koyo, separation confirmed. Cybercube, separation confirmed. Lemur 2 Crimborealis, separation confirmed. Leonav 1, separation confirmed. Lemur 2 Alex, separation confirmed. Apolink Ipos, separation confirmed. Marmotsat, separation confirmed. Grits, separation confirmed. QB4, separation confirmed. QB5, separation confirmed. Lemur 2, Deloitte 6, separation confirmed. EarthTrack ET-01, separation confirmed. Lemur 2, Deloitte 5, separation confirmed. Tom 3, separation confirmed. N2 Peabody, separation confirmed. QB3, separation confirmed. QB2, separation confirmed. Centauri 9, separation confirmed. QB1, separation confirmed. Lemur 2 Nereid, separation confirmed. Scion X, separation confirmed. Bower Cloud CT precursor, separation confirmed. Lemur 2 Deloitte 4, separation confirmed. Kotska Oasis Alpha, separation confirmed. Lemur 2 Sophie Luna X1, separation confirmed. Lemur 2 Jess R, separation confirmed. Vulcan 3, separation confirmed. Tom 2, separation confirmed. Tom 1, separation confirmed. Lemur 2, Alex Fulton, separation confirmed. Maverick, separation confirmed. Marina, separation confirmed. Hyperion GR-1, separation confirmed. Rafts, separation confirmed. Replicator 2, separation confirmed. Spear 1, separation confirmed. R5, S9, separation confirmed. Fossasat 2E26, separation confirmed. Bro 31, separation confirmed. Posidonia, separation confirmed. Ion SUV Joyful Julia, separation confirmed.
This is really amazing, and it is us being successfully deployed. To also end the second part of the anticipation, Alkis, can you tell us the results from the poll?
Of course, but I don't think that it's merely that anticipation for that. It looks like it's 2.5 months. That's the quickest that we have ever delivered a satellite from design to launch. And if you guess that, imagine that it was not one, but 2 satellites. And BBIU was launched in January. You get a bonus point if you found that thing for 2.
That's great. And back to this mission. For these 2 satellites and for the whole company, it's such a fantastic day. Thank you all for turning in. Keep questions coming, and also check our website and socials to stay up to date with the life of the satellites in space. Alkis, it was a pleasure being next to you through this event. Thank you all.
Thank you all. It was a pleasure, Panos, sharing that studio and also sharing the whole mission from the beginning to the end right now. See you in the next one.
Bye.